Stella, I have a moral/ethical dilemma. I hope you can help me think it through. As a longtime Scientology watcher and critic, I feel it's my duty to speak out against the church and draw attention to its misdeeds. But I'm wavering in the extent to which I abstain from supporting public Scientologists' work. It's easy to boycott the megastar who's personally profited from Sea Org slave labor, or the has-been sitcom actress who shrilly accuses critics of raping babies. But I find myself making excuses for the second-generation musician who keeps his membership fairly quiet, the character actor in the fun Marvel film, or the older star from a 70s sitcom and cult classic films. Am I complicit in making Scientology look good by buying an album or watching a movie with a famous Scientologist in it? Is it enough to make up for that consumption by supporting ex-Scientologists and sharing what I know with others? Am I overthinking this? Stella, thank you very much for asking this question, and it's far from the first time I've heard it, and you are not necessarily overthinking this. You're giving something some real deep moral thought, and that's a good thing, okay? Now, in terms of the specifics of this, I have, of course, said many times that I can't stand Tom Cruise. I will not watch the man. He is a monster, and that is really the truth of it. And I just can't suspend my own disbelief anymore watching him. I just see the shark eyes, the deadness there, and I know there's nothing behind them. And that's the end of the story for me with Tom Cruise. I don't feel that way about John Travolta, Michael Pena, Jenna Elfman disturbs me just because I know how hysterical she can get, but I also know she's a victim of a cult mentality, and she was raised with it, so it got involved very, very young. So, so I grant a lot of latitude there too, because I understand the process and how it all works. So I try not to hold a grudge, generally speaking, against all Scientologists just because they happen to have the profession of entertainers. Doesn't mean that they hold a special, dark, horrible place in my heart, right? It's they're just another job. And quite honestly, I have never watched a Michael Pena in a film, for example, and, felt distracted or thrown out of the movie or whatever because I was watching a Scientologist. I see Jim Meskimen on sitcoms. I mean, he appeared on Parks and Rec a few nights ago when we were watching that. And it's just funny to me. Oh, yeah, there's an OTA Scientologist, right? D-list actor, right? There he is. So it doesn't have to distract or annoy or be a source of ethical dilemma, really, because we're talking about entertainment. And when you are supporting an artist, let's get kind of specific about this too, right? In terms of arguments for a really solid and strong argument is the fact that you're not supporting them as Scientologists. When you go see a movie, you're supporting a movie, a story that you're going to see with make-believe characters in it. It's not any real different than a novel. The characters are no more real in a movie than they are in a book. In fact, they're written down and then they are simply acted out on screen by people whose job it is to do that. So you're not supporting Scientology when you are going to watch a story played out visually for you. Because a Scientologist is there, that could or couldn't influence your view of the thing, right? Record, movie, whatever. But the amount of profit that's going to end up in the Church of Scientology's coffers because of that movie, minuscule, negligible, almost nothing, not really worth worrying about, at least as far as I'm concerned, right? Because your movie ticket, what are you investing? You're investing $12, $15 in a movie ticket, $20 for a CD or something. I mean, how much of that is the artist going to see? A very, very, very tiny percentage of that. And of that percentage, how much of that is going to go right into the artist's pocket? Very small amount of that. And then how much of that is going to go to Scientology? Tiny. So we're talking about, percentages of percentages in terms of monetary gain it's so negligible, it's really not worth worrying about. So, in a very pragmatic, practical sense, there's really no real concern there. Now, if you were to, of course, tweet out, I can't wait to see this new Tom Cruise movie. He's my favorite Scientologist. And I don't mean ironically. I mean, you really are supporting Scientology, right? Or you're trying to forward Scientology's message. Okay, there's where I'm going to have a problem with what you're doing, right? And I might respond in, proportionately on Twitter. Again, it's that you'd have to go that kind of far out of your way to even put Scientology into the picture, So that's my take on it. It's a rather sort of whatever-ish kind of attitude about it at this point. I think I used to have stronger views on this. I think I've kind of moved on from some of that in some ways. However, every time this question comes up, I always do go way out of my way, and I will do so again today, to say Tom Cruise is a dick and he's a monster, and the man should not be supported in any way. And that is a very strong opinion I continue to hold for all the reasons laid out in the Going Clear documentary and book, if you are honestly curious about that. Okay, so thanks for asking.